Thanks for listening to the Underdog podcast presented by the Riley Decker Companies. Please do us a favor and help us change and improve lives by subscribing and giving us a rating on the platform of your choice. Thank you. Well, it's a special day today. Have Scotty Miller from the Tampa Bay Bucks. Welcome to the Underdog podcast.
What's up, man? How you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, super excited. When I Google Underdog NFL, I think Scotty Miller might be, I saw it was like right up there, man. So no one better for us in the National Football League than Scotty Miller, in my opinion. Wanted to start off. I think you actually, call yourself an underdog. You were quoted, it's crazy, an underdog story, said Miller on his path to the NFL. Can you kind of talk about here, and I'll throw another quote out here to kind of tee it up a little bit. Says, I've just been doubted my whole life because of my size and other things as well. I've just fought for it. I've earned everything I've been given. It's been like that since youth football, ever since I started playing. And you talk about how even in fifth grade, as a little kid, your coach wouldn't put you in because of your size. So can you kind of talk about, you calling yourself an underdog and really how it started and what kind of build throughout your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it started at a young age. I started playing tackle football in fifth grade. I made I come from a really big town, Barrington's the hometown I'm from. Graduated like 1,000 kids, 4,000 kids in the high school. So youth football is huge. Everybody plays growing up. So started in fifth grade, ended up making the best team in the town. But was literally a bench warmer, and in fifth grade, usually everyone gets to play, but not me. The coach would barely put me in at all, and it was crazy. So then the following year, my dad actually decided that he was going to step in and coach me. He actually played football a little bit in college as well, but we weren't going to have any of the nonsense anymore. So I ended up, there's 3 levels of football: Big Ten, Mac-10, and Pac-10 in the town. And we ended up playing on the lowest level. There's like, say 200 kids playing, and I'm on the lowest team in the town. And my dad was the head coach, and we just lit it up. We would have scrimmages against the Big Ten team, the best team. We would just get after him and stuff like that. So really, it started in youth football, just being doubted. Really, I was small, but I was always the fastest one. I always could play. But even then, the stereotype still existed. They thought I was small. They thought I was weak. They thought I couldn't play with everybody. But even then, I knew I was better than everybody, and I could play. It was just a matter of opportunity, even at that stage in my life. So then I went into to high school football, and freshman year, I wanted to play offense. I was always an offensive guy. I knew I could be a big playmaker, but I made the A team barely. There was an A, B, and C team. I made the A team barely, and I was like 3rd string running back, and I started at free safety. And they're basically just trying to hide me at free safety. I barely had a starting role on the team. So then at the end of that year, every year they would pull up guys to varsity for the playoffs. They pulled up 12 guys from the freshman team, and I was not one of those 12 guys. So that really, lit a fire under me at that point in my life. I was probably only 15 years old, but it still put a chip on my shoulder. And then sophomore year, I worked really hard that offseason, tried to prove to the coaches how I was one of the best athletes on the team. And then I actually was pulled up to varsity my sophomore year. I ended up starting on varsity as a free safety. Still wasn't playing any offense yet. Didn't really enjoy tackling or doing anything like that. I'm like, coach, you got to let me play offense. Finally, my junior year, I proved to them that I could go both ways a little bit. I was still mainly they moved me to corner. I was playing a little bit of receiver, just taking deep shots because they knew I was fast. I ran track and stuff like that. And then senior year, I finally convinced my coach to let me full-time play both ways and mainly play offense. And then I was fortunate to receive a couple offers. I thought I ran track. I was one of the fastest guys in Illinois. I got 3rd place in the 100-meter in the biggest division in Illinois my junior year. And then I was fortunate to finally receive a couple offers, but still going into my senior year, I only had 3 Division I AA offers. I had no FBS offers, and I was just my dream all along was to play at the highest level, to play FBS football. Of course, I wanted to play in the Power 5, but Group of 5 would have worked as well. And then finally, my senior year, in the playoffs, the whole year I didn't get any offers. And then finally in the playoffs, we're playing like the best team in the state, and I end up like scoring like 2 or 3 touchdowns, kick return touchdown, receiving touchdown, like big game. And then Bowling Green comes in, Sean Lewis, who was our offensive coordinator at the time, called me up and right after the game and offered me a full scholarship. But even then, there was still a kick to it. He said, "You only have 24 hours to accept this scholarship, or else we're going to pull it from you." Yeah, so it was pretty wild. And at that point, I was pretty close to committing to Western Illinois, actually. I was literally probably a week away from committing to them because it was getting pretty late in the process, late in my senior year. But it was my goal to play at the FBS level. So I called Sean Lewis probably a couple hours later after talking to my family and committed to Bowling Green. And it was one of the best decisions. And I'm so grateful that they gave me that opportunity. But yeah, I mean, basically that's like a short summary of my, growing up in football and just really being overlooked. I thought I deserved a lot more than what I had gotten through all the levels. But it ended up working out for me. So.
And do you think, coming off of that chip at, out of Barrington, which is not too far from Chicago, right? Or somewhere in Illinois, if I got it?
Yep. Northwest suburbs, like 45 minutes out of the city.
Okay. Gotcha. And, you, like you said, you had one FBS offer. And outside of that, it looks like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Western Illinois, or some schools of that sort. Yep. But man, you are going back. I know I looked at some track. I think as a 4x. I don't know much about track, but I just see you from way. It's like watching the Kentucky Derby. That horse, the long shot that comes from way behind and wins the race. Man, you start in the back of the pack, and next thing I know, your buddy Grant was showing me, and I see you just come flying. I'm like, oh my gosh, man! If I was I'm not a college coach, and there's maybe a good reason I'm not, but if I look on turn on your football film and I watch that track, I'm like, man, why is he a 2-star recruit? Why is he, I think disrespected would maybe be an appropriate term, but that had to drive you. So now you get to Bowling Green and have one heck of a career. Let's talk a little bit about BG. Getting there. I know my mom actually is a fighting Falcon, so.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a little, when I was at Miami and her being a Bowling Green, she obviously loved her son, rooted for there, but I think there was a little bit of a little bit of Bowling Green State University pride there. But let's talk a little bit about that and your time up there.
Yeah, I really love my time up in Bowling Green. It was crazy because when I came in, I was definitely the least recruited guy. Obviously, I had 24 hours to accept my offer. These other guys, they were probably begging to come to the school, So it was interesting coming in just because I was low man on the totem pole, But I came in with the chip on my shoulder. I came in expecting to play right away. And I actually ended up redshirt. They wanted to redshirt me my freshman year. The first 4 games I was redshirted, and then they ended up needing a kick returner. And I was like, "Let's do it! I'm ready to go. I don't want to sit here and be redshirted." So I ended up being the kick returner and playing like all 4 core special teams my whole freshman year. A little bit of receiver, maybe had like 10 catches at most, but ended up just trying to be a star in my role. It was a small role on the team, but I ended up having 2 block punts my freshman year, a couple big kick returns, punt returns, and I was probably 150 pounds, so it wasn't too much of a factor on kickoff, but tried to do everything I could to be a factor, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how it started out for me. And then my second year, I really wanted to make a big jump. I really wanted to be a star on the offense, be a big playmaker for the team. So I ended up starting my sophomore year in the slot and had a really big year. I was like 20 yards short of 1,000 yards, which was frustrating. But I ended up getting like first team All MAC. It was just a big year for me, and was kind of crazy that I had just like 2 years ago I was struggling to get any scholarships. Then here I am, having big games against big schools and stuff like that. So it was pretty just like a lot of stuff happened in a year or two. And then everything just kind of went up from there. My junior year, I had a decent year. I actually was pretty disrespected. Then I had a pretty decent year, but I was third team All MAC somehow that year. And then my senior year, I had a really big year. Started out in Oregon, had like 180 yards or something and two touchdowns, I think. Against them, had a big game against Georgia Tech, over 100 yards. Like every big school I played, I was doing well. Maryland, I had a touchdown against them, had over 1,000 yards. Finally, first time in my career. was like by far and above stats wise the best receiver in the MAC, but somehow I was voted second team all MAC at the end of my senior year. 4 guys they put ahead of me, and didn't get invited to the combine after that, and just a lot of stuff. So, but all in all, my career at Bowling Green ended up, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. I was fortunate to get a lot of opportunities given to me by the coaches, and a lot of people believed in me, had a great relationship with a lot of quarterbacks that I play with, including Grant Lloyd, Jared Deggy, James Morgan, James Kanapke, Matt Johnson, a lot of guys. So it was a great time at Bowling Green, and, fortunate for it.
Yeah, I mean, you put up some numbers there. 34 games. Give yourself some. See, I won't disrespect you at all. I might be now the newest, biggest Scotty Miller fan, man. I freaking love it. I love that the people doubt you and you just keep proving them wrong. But 215 passes caught for 2,867 yards and 23 tutties, and then scorched, like you said, dudes from Oregon, Maryland, Michigan State. Top of the MAC talent, folks, and then still didn't get to the Senior Bowl, Combine, second team MAC. Just once again goes with the common theme. So before we get to the Bucks, though, I got to bring in this. You mentioned this Lloyd guy, so he said you might not be drafted. Here he is. He's popping into the screen for those that can't.
Yeah,
see. But a 63-yard touchdown might be the reason why you got drafted in the 6th round of the Bucks, according to this man that is now here on the podcast. So Grant, what do we got to say about this?
What's funny about that play is it wasn't even supposed to be a pass. I'm not even going to try to take credit for it. We get out there, and I wasn't starting that game. As he said, our buddy Jarrett was a starter. And unfortunately we were kind of, not really close game. 9 minutes left in the 4th quarter there, I think. But I had a little Taysom Hill package here and there. So I'd go in, we'd do a little mesh, and I was just putting my shoulder down, trying to run everybody over. And Scotty was always the first one to pick me up, though. But anyway, we get out there, I think first play of the drive, and Scotty's in the slot. And part of our game plan was to read that backside safety. If he inserts into the box, we were going to pull it and throw a deep slant behind him. And, knowing that all I had done was, do some quarterback run stuff, they probably weren't going to respect it. So Scotty goes, Grant. And of course, I can hear him. It's like, Grant. I look over at him, and I'm like, he gives me the signal for the deep slant. And I look up, and I'm like, that's probably a good idea. I give it back to him, and that dude is flying down the line of scrimmage. So I pull it real quick, but I put it right on him, and Scotty ran 1,000 miles an hour right in the end zone. And it's funny though, because, we had just been talking about that for a while, being roommates, that, we got to connect on one before he gets out of here. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What's before we let Grant jump back off? What's any similarities between the GOAT Tom Brady and Grant Lloyd? Do we have any cross?
Oh yeah, Grant's the real deal now. Just a little lack of opportunity in college. If he would have got it, he would have shown everybody what's up. But yeah, Grant's always been a hard worker. He's very similar to me. I think that's why we've got along and been such good friends, but never handed anything, had to go earn everything he's gotten. So yeah, similar to Tom in that way as well.
Yeah, no, we're glad to have Grant. Appreciate you jumping on, brother. And we were talking, we said, hey, if he would have gotten that Auburn, Alabama game and let it rip in that second half for the W against the Crimson Tide, I said, what do you think would be going on? I wouldn't be with you working here at Raleigh Decker Companies.
Wouldn't be here. Wouldn't be here.
I was dying laughing. I was like, oh, so true, probably. But, I know he's super excited as a great friend. And I love the walk-on mentality that Grant's bringing to our organization. So thanks, brother, for jumping on.
Appreciate it.
But to go off of, going from Bowling Green there, transitioning to the 6th round draft pick for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you get to Tampa, and obviously a lot of things happen your rookie year, and a lot of great things, and you make a huge impact going into your second year as well, and then become a Super Bowl champion. Can you kind of talk about, being a draft pick in that 6th round, having the opportunity, and then you go compete and make a big impact on that organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all started, you kind of touched on it, just not being invited to the Senior Bowl, the Combine. I ended up playing in like some game called the Tropical Bowl, which is not a very big all-star game. that not a lot of NFL scouts go to. But just being slighted, and I just didn't think I deserved that. And that's going back to high school too, when no one was offering me, when I had all the film, I had the track times, I had everything. Just like everything I was doing didn't match up to what the result I was getting, or the interest I was getting from NFL teams or from college teams and stuff like that. So I always just had a really big chip on my shoulder for those reasons. Going into the draft, I didn't know what to expect. I knew I wasn't going to be a high draft pick, but I knew there was a possibility for 6th, 7th. And then I probably knew I was going to get signed as a free agent at worst case. But I even had a lot of agents, like not a lot of agents wanted to talk to me, wanted to deal with me at all. I remember one agent like calling me and telling me at best I was a rookie minicamp invite. At best in the league, I'm a special teams guy, a returner, but could never do anything on offense, so he didn't want to sign me. And just like all those conversations and all those little things I always kept with me and remembered. And even to this day, every day when I go out there, to work out or to practice or whatever, I take those things with me. But I was very fortunate at the Buccaneers. I was sitting around all day Saturday. That day 3 of the draft's a long day. I'm getting a lot of calls from teams, trying to recruit me to sign with them after the draft, basically disrespecting me and telling me that they didn't think I was going to get drafted. And this is like mid 5th round, early 6th. But I had a little hope that the Bucs would draft me because Byron Leftwich and Kevin Garver, our receiver coach and offensive coordinator, came out to my pro day, and they were the only 2 actual coaches. Everyone else was scouts at my pro day. They were the only 2 coaches from the NFL there. And I knew they liked me. I knew I had a chance there. So in the 6th round, we saw the Bucs pick coming out, and me and my family were kind of getting a little excited, hoping maybe that was a chance. And then I remember just sitting there, and then we're just kind of everyone's getting a little antsy, and then seeing that Tampa Bay area code pop up on my phone, and I'm like, is this gonna be it? And then sure enough, it was Jason Liger, our GM, telling me they got a need for speed, and they're gonna select me in a couple picks here, and I just like broke down in tears and like I can't even remember because I just blacked out because it was like everything I'd ever worked for had finally paid off. I was finally getting this chance that I wanted so bad to play in the NFL. So that was an amazing day for me. And then, it's crazy because then 2 weeks later you find yourself at rookie mini camp right in the full swing of things. Then right after that, OTAs with all the vets. And, I walk in and I see Mike Evans, Jameis Winston, Chris Godwin, and all these big time guys. And I'm like, I was just playing with Grant Lloyd a little bit ago.
Nice.
But it's just wild, like the change of events, and then just tried to work really hard right when I got there, do anything I could to help the team, to show them that I could play. Was fortunate to make the team, made the 53-man roster is the first step. Was super excited about that because that's not easy. People don't realize that there's not many spots on an NFL roster. They keep like 5 to 7 receivers at max on every roster. You go into camp with probably at least 15 receivers, so there's a lot of competition and everybody can play. So I was fortunate to make the team, and then battled with injuries a little bit my rookie year. I think I finished with 200 yards or so, had a couple big plays, was sweet. We went to Detroit, and that's close to Bowling Green, obviously in Ohio, where I went to school. It was also close to where I grew up in Chicago. So I had all my family, cousins, my immediate family out there. Grant was at the game. A lot of my other buddies from Bowling Green. I probably had around 30-ish people there. And I had my first touchdown at that game. So that was pretty sweet just to have that moment in front of all the people that were close to me. And then that kind of capped off. I actually pulled my hamstring on the touchdown play, so I missed like the final game after that. But that kind of capped off my rookie year. So it was a solid year, learning year. I kind of knew a lot of the stuff that I need to improve on going into my second year. And then obviously Tom Brady comes going into that second year. That was wild. Now, I'm, like I said, going from Bowling Green a year ago, now I'm playing with Tom Brady. It's like, what's going on here? Someone I've watched growing up my whole life, and then Gronk comes, we're all of a sudden we're, contenders to play in the Super Bowl. So just was fortunate to work with Tom a ton that summer, grow our chemistry, show him what I could do, have him just try and learn from him as much as I could, do everything he wanted me to do. And then that second year was able to make some big plays for the team come on. I was starting like the full first half of the season. AB comes in. I have to take a little bit of a backseat role, but then still in the playoffs was able to make some key plays for us down the stretch, and was really just doing whatever I could to help the team win. and then ended up winning the Super Bowl, which was an unbelievable moment. Something you dream of, and all this stuff just is happening so fast. Yeah, I can't even I don't even now, I don't think I can really get a, sort of actual real view on it and appreciation for all the stuff that not only I've accomplished, but all the things that have happened to me, until I'm probably done playing. Just because all this stuff is, like I said, happening so fast. And I've just been so fortunate to have all these opportunities.
Yeah, and it was really cool to hear your dad talk after the NFC Championship. Obviously, a lot of people talk about that catch, but to put the underdog, spin on it is, he said, it's hard to put into words. We've been watching this game all of our lives. Scotty is the biggest underdog to make it here. It's an unbelievable feeling to be part of this as his family. So, like you said, from catching that touchdown in Detroit in front of your family and friends to that huge catch in Green Bay to winning a Super Bowl, man, that had to be just, like I said, you're living the dream, but you've been under, you've been, slanted or, the chips have been quote unquote against you your whole life. And I love it, man. You just keep coming back from any adversity. And I think that is the true underdog. You kind of talk about, and then after the Super Bowl this past year, you've obviously battled some injuries, missed some games, how hard that was, maybe going from that second year where you're, relatively healthy, having huge numbers, and then, having the turf toe and all the different things and kind of battling back from, new additions to the team, as you had mentioned, and all that stuff. Where's your head after last year heading into kind of, once again, maybe getting doubted again, going into now your fourth year? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year was a tough year for me. I actually had, my groin was actually bad all year, the Super Bowl run year, my second year. So I ended up getting surgery, bilateral core surgery right after that Super Bowl, like a month after it. So that was kind of a long recovery for me heading into my third year. Obviously, we still had AB on the team. We had a lot of guys up and coming in the receiver room, tight end room. We just had a lot of weapons. So it was, and I had a good camp, and then a good preseason. And then I was starting the year I was doing fine, but it was just tough because there weren't many opportunities for me. I don't think it was anything that I did to not have those opportunities, just kind of the guys we had in the room and, the coaches putting people in position that they wanted. And that's just kind of how everything felt. But I tried to just work as hard as I could and try and be there for whatever the team needed me to do, just try and stay ready. And then I ended up getting a pretty good opportunity against the Rams to play a lot. And my first catch that game in the first quarter, I catch a screen and I somehow get turf toe. Like my toe gets all busted up. Played through that game, didn't do too much, and then find out the next day that my whole foot is pretty much just like torn and broken, which is essentially what turf toe is, the whole inside of my foot. So they initially told me I was going to need surgery and be out for the year. And then a lot of discussions with different doctors, we ended up saying, let's just not do surgery if we don't absolutely need it. And then I ended up missing like 6 weeks, maybe even more. I don't know. I missed a lot of games. And then was coming back and I felt pretty good, but it was just tough. In the NFL, there's so many guys that can play. And if you're not healthy and ready to go, guys will jump in and take those opportunities. So it kind of just worked out where when I came back, other guys were playing well and I just never could really get back in the swing of things and be a big part of the offense. I ended up playing a lot in the Rams game, the game we lost in the playoffs. I had a decent game there. But yeah, it was a really tough year, challenging year for me mentally. Probably one of the most challenging years I've ever had in my life as far as football goes. Just not being able to play and perform. So that was tough. And then really had to reset my mind after the year, these last couple months, and just get ready to go for this year. Put last year behind me and just reframe my mindset and just work really hard on things that I needed to do. I gained a lot of weight. I gained like 15 pounds, just trying to do everything I could to give me the best opportunity to get on that field and help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, So I think I've done that where we just started OTAs. I've had a good start so far. So just every day, just going out there and try to prove my worth. It's not easy. There's so many guys. We got like I said, we got 15 guys on the roster right now and everybody can play. And obviously you don't get here not being able to play. So just trying to show what I can do and what separates me every single day. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And then just trying to, build that relationship with all the quarterbacks, with Tom, and just trying to have everyone believe in me so I can help the team out come the fall.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And it's great to hear. I would say, like, I'm a diehard. I'm a season ticket holder to the Cleveland Browns, obviously Ohio guy here. I know you guys come up to Cleveland this year. I'm sure I'll be up there. Maybe I'll get Grant to go with me, but
Yeah.
hopefully you have a great game. But let's take it easy on my guys, man. We've been hurting up there. But no, I know
Sean Watson now, so we'll see.
Yeah. I was like, man, I tell you what, if I think Tampa Bay wants you, but if they ever don't, please come up to Cleveland. You'd be a
Right.
god. We'd build a statue up there for you. But what is it? I mean, I'm sure I know you get this asked often, but I got to do it. What makes Tom, tick inside, or some of the guys, let's just even say Mike Evans, who you've, working with, and obviously we just learned how your work ethic and how you get after it yourself and overcome injuries. But what maybe some of those guys that are at the highest of your career, your industry of the National Football League, what makes, those guys so special? I mean, we see a bunch on TV, but what's maybe behind the scenes we don't see?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people probably take for granted what these guys put in every single day and how they work. They probably think, oh, Mike Evans is 6'5", 220 and can run a 4.4. Obviously he's going to be good. Well, I've actually met a decent amount of guys that are pretty big and pretty talented that haven't done anything like Mike Evans has done, So, I mean, the way he comes in and works, the way he takes care of his body, his mindset every day just to dominate, compete, and be the best version of himself every single day is why he is, one of the greatest receivers of all time, and the greatest Tampa Bay receiver ever. So that's with him. And then with Tom works extremely hard, as everybody obviously knows, but it's not just about working hard. One of the things Tom is so big on is you can work as hard as you want, but if you're not working on the right things, if you're not working with a purpose, there's that hard work ain't gonna do nothing for you. You know what I mean? So everything he does is purpose driven. When we're out there throwing routes on air, he always says, we're not just out here playing catch. We're not just out here having fun playing catch. We're out here, think about something, one or two things that you want to work on every single day, and come out there with a purpose and a drive, and let's work to get better, and let's help each other out while we're doing it. So I think that's what just makes Tom so great, is just all the little details, all the focus he puts on the little things. And he has every excuse. He's done everything you could possibly want to do, or every goal you could want to accomplish. He's done, he's got it, but somehow he's still outworking everybody, sending us clips the night before the Super Bowl, of random clips of the DBs from a year or two ago that, he said, if you get this technique, be ready for, just like little tiny things. Like, he's on everything. So all those little things are what make him great. And it's just, I'm just so fortunate to get to learn from these type of guys. Tom's played with some of the best receivers, some guys similar to me. So just trying to ask him and have him tell me what he wants me to do so I can perform similar to some of the guys he's played with has been so key. And it's just so awesome to get to play with these guys.
Yeah, even though Tom is a Michigan guy, he's going to have to start giving some action, some credit. You got Julian Edelman from Kent State. Now we got you from Bowling Green. And we got some action in the Brady repertoire through the years. So we need to.
We're all a couple of 6-round picks too. So
exactly. You say, hey, Tom, you know what? You got to give the action some love. Not just the Big Ten here, but as we kind of come to the end, I thought something I love is your confidence, and even I think that comes obviously as people have learned through the adversity you face. But I love you saying you're the fastest football player in the National Football League. Just love it. Quite frankly, I think you are. You call out Tyreek Hill and say, hey, I think let's go race. So the Tyreek Hill, the cheetah. You still feeling? I mean, the turf toe. You still feel like you got him, or what are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, confidence is key. I definitely wouldn't have got to where I've been without having confidence in myself. That's been literally the key factor, because you got to believe in yourself over anybody, because everybody's going to doubt you your whole life. So as far as that goes, I'll take myself in a race over anybody you say. That's the confidence I have. Until you line it up and beat me, I'm going to pick myself over anybody. I think all of us fast guys, Tyreek Hill, a lot of the guys we have on the Bucs will even say they think they're the fastest. Everybody does. You got to have that confidence in yourself. And if you don't, you ain't going to make it anywhere in life. So I got the utmost belief in myself, but that's no slight to anybody. I think when I said that, some people think I was slighting Tyreek or anybody else, but I know how phenomenal Tyreek is. I admire everything he's done and hope to be, the type of player he's been in the NFL. He's obviously been ridiculous. So I look up to guys like that, but if I had to race him, I think I could take him.
I love it. So now that he's in Miami, you're over in Tampa. What, maybe meet in Orlando or something? Have a race at Disney?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get something done.
Say, hey, let's drive, get in the car, let's meet halfway, let's do this thing. No, man, I love it. So anything, else from your underdog story? I know I hopefully I covered it all, but I mean, you really, I think anyone that's listening, as a youngster, I hope we have some in our audience, and even those that are, maybe in a job right now, is if you're listening to Scotty, going from, basically being, not good enough in grade school in 5th grade to being the high school level 2-star recruit coming out of Barrington to Bowling Green, coach saying, hey, you got 24 hours to commit, then to being the 6th round draft pick and then a Super Bowl champ, and now overcoming adversity with injuries to hopefully have a great year, which I know you will this year. So, man, just truly love it. One of the better underdog. I think we're 100 and coming close to 140 episodes here. So super, super excited. I think you fit our platform and those listening extremely well. So, how do folks, Scotty, follow you on your social platforms? Any handles? I know you're on Instagram, Twitter. Any handles you can rattle off?
Yeah, I think most of my stuff is Miller Time 10. That's I think that's Twitter, Instagram. You can find me on those. And hit me up if you got any questions or anything like that. I love anybody that has an underdog story, or just anybody that's overlooked and willing to put in the work and have that confidence in themselves. So,
yeah, well, you just had an Underdog Nation, just got a lot of new, hopefully, Scotty Miller fans. So really appreciate your time, and the best is ahead for you. As mentioned, I'm sure I'll see you up in Cleveland. Take it easy on my boys, and but no, nonetheless, we'll be rooting for the Bucs throughout the year, and you and Tom and Croup have hopefully a great another run and get back to the top. So once again, thank you so much for your time, and the best is ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Underdog Podcast. Please subscribe and rate our podcast on the Apple and Google podcast apps. Leave a 5-star rating and send our Twitter handle a screenshot of your rating at Underdog Pod with your shirt size for a chance to win a free t-shirt. See you next week on the UDP.